makes me want to have a bowl. Even this next operation where they caught a guy with €80,000 worth of cannabis. Like, this guy was coming over from England, and he is a father of 7. A man by the name of Malik Bouber. He's 46 years of age, and he travelled by ferry into Ireland in a van that was found to have packages of cannabis hidden inside in a compartment in the floor behind the driver's seat. Bouber of Belmont Road in Liverpool, England, pleaded guilty at the Dublin Circuit Criminal Court to importation of cannabis at Dublin Port on October 20th, 2020. He has 51 previous convictions in England, including convictions for possession of drugs with intent to supply. And the sergeant prosecuting said that on the date in question, customs officers were in possession of confidential information regarding a particular van travelling by ferry from the UK. Sergeant Whelan said the van, which was being driven by Bouber, was stopped and searched. Packages containing the cannabis were found, and the van hidden inside the compartment in the floor behind the driver's seat. And the total value of the drugs seized were €79,648. What happened there? Like, some of the boys making joints, the cops making joints there before they handed it in, like taking a few grams here and there for themselves. And in the interview with the Gardaí following his arrest, Bouber said he was asked to bring the drugs into the country and he was to be paid €2,600. And it says there he was to be paid €2,600. So I'd imagine because he got caught, he didn't get that money. He said the van did not belong to him and that he picked it up and that others had paid for the ferry. Bouber told Gardaí he was relying on people to tell him what to do after he arrived in Ireland. 2 mobile phones found in his possession were examined by Gardaí and discovered he had been receiving communications from certain individuals in Ireland. And Sergeant Whelan agreed with the Sarah Jane O'Callaghan defending the client, said that her client came across as a nice fellow, and that the sergeant had formed the opinion Bouber could be easily led, and he agreed. The accused said he had a drug addiction for the last 20 years. So I don't know, is it me or I've been watching Narcos lately, like, and maybe that's kind of influencing my thought in this. But again, you have this guy here, an easily led individual, a nice fellow, being taken advantage of by a bunch of gangsters. Because what I see here is the potential for, look, and the cops have a tip off, okay? So if you're a drug gang, an organised drugs gang, and you want to bring drugs into the country and you want to be sure that they get through, well, what do? Well, maybe you might send in an old decoy and you tip the cops off to the decoy, but the decoy doesn't even know that he's a decoy. The decoy thinks he's actually working for the criminals, doing a job for the boys. Like, I'm one of the boys and they're going to look after me and I'm going to get €2,600 to look after my fucking 8 kids or 7 kids. So is this a likely scenario here where the organised crime gangs are like 1 or 2 steps ahead of the cops and that? Like, the cops don't even have to be involved in this, like except for the fact that they're just fucking working for the organised crime gangs by not properly doing their job, I suppose, essentially, because they get tipped off. All right, there's the van we're looking for. They don't search anything else then as a result. How many other vans get through? How many other people get through with a lot more product on board? So they seized 80,000 off of this van, but was there like 4 or 5 other vans, each of them with $1 million each or something going through? And poor Bouber, he has to go to prison here now in Ireland for, he got off the judge, he was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment, but the judge suspended the final 3 years on this of the sentence on strict conditions, including that he leave the country immediately upon his release and not return for 10 years. So here we have a man who's been described as a nice fellow, a father of 7, and now he's been denied entry back into our country once he gets out of prison for 10 years, all because he got caught with a little bit of cannabis. Like, he has 7 kids. What if his kids want to come on a holiday to Ireland and they want to bring their dad? Like, he won't be able to go with them? Is that what they're saying here, for at least 10 years? It's just absurd, like, that this is the type of punishment we would hand down to somebody, ban them from our country for 10 years because they brought in cannabis that brings a lot of pleasure to people. Again, let's not forget how out of touch the government are with the people currently. They're way out of kilter. Like, they do not represent the views of the people currently. The prohibition of drugs is not in the benefit of our communities, and it's not in the interest of our society. So again, this government are way out of whack, and these sentences being handed down by judges are ridiculous, considering, cannabis could be legalised here come I don't know, let's say Gino Kenny's bill for some fucking freak reason actually goes through and gets accepted by the Irish government, and we legalise and regulate cannabis. Imagine, like in what, 6 to 12 months time, we could have a legal and regulated industry here in Ireland, but our buddy Boo Bear and many others are still locked up in prison for the very same herb that were setting up businesses, creating jobs, and a lot of tax revenue around. There's a lot to change, and I believe there is change coming, but this is where I'm most interested in, is once this change happens, what happens to Boo Bear? Like, he should be getting an immediate release. If anything, he should be probably getting a bit of an apology in a sense. Like, the government will never apologise to this guy. The fact that he get released would be a good thing, I suppose, and that's all he would probably get. Like, but people like that deserve so much more. This war on drugs has victimised some very good people. Like the solicitor has to describe him as a nice fellow, because if you get caught with drugs, well, you must be a bad fellow, because that's what's implied. Like, why else would you need to defend yourself and say, look, I'm a good person, But like, is Derek assuming, well, you're here in court, you're a criminal, you must be a bad person. It's just wrong. It's a backwards way of thinking, and I really do look forward to the day when this change comes, and I really look forward to seeing people like Boo Bear getting out of prison and not being treated like criminals any longer. It's ridiculous. Like, I reckon he's just been taken advantage of by some organised crime gang here in this instance, and was probably a decoy. Bhagwan's son, this is important to find out, the government, what they will manage to mess up, because they will and won't be good for the people. It never is only the rich will get sorted. And Cassidus Drugos adding in there as well, expungements must be included in any legislation, 100%. Like, if you have a legislation without expungements, then sadly you have not won anything at all, really, like, because there's so many people there unfairly in prison, like, and they're good people, Imagine if we people still in prison for being gay or something. Like, let's say we had some crazy, like, sods of judges before, you know what I mean? And they locked people up for being gay. Imagine if they were still in prison. Like, that wouldn't sit right. Like, of course you would be expunging these people and taking away any criminal convictions given. Ridiculous, like. It makes me want to have a bowl.